Joe Biden ramping up his presidential push as violent protests continue to engulf the nation. The former vice president promised to heal America's racial wounds and slammed President Trump for, quote, turning this country into a battlefield.
I look at the presidency as a very big job, and nobody will get it right every time. And I won't either. But I promise you this. I won't traffic in fear and division. I won't fan the flames of hate. I'll seek to heal the racial wounds that have long plagued our country, not use them for political gain. I'll do my job and I will take responsibility. I won't blame others.
Dagan, I've been thinking about how Joe Biden delivering this message, it's kind of interesting. He's been in office since the 1970s. And wants to return, and then there will be change.
Right, indeed. And he's going to, according to the George Floyd, his family, the vice president is going to be going to the funeral next week, which I believe is scheduled for Tuesday. So expect to, this is what the former vice president is talking about here. But in terms of the wounds, he's going to need to broaden his message to all Americans, people who have actually been hurt, their livelihoods damaged by these violent criminals who are robbing city after city after city. He needs to speak to the whole nation. And he's going to have to start being a bit more vociferous about stopping this violence.
Mm-hmm. Juan, what about the president then pushing back against Joe Biden, suggesting, portraying Biden as an ally of this lawlessness and of the looters and not standing up for law and order as he would?
Wow, I must say, I find this, it's so political, Dana, on the President Trump's part here, because what I saw today from the former vice president was a strong speech. And strong, I say, because it had so much passion about and sympathy, empathy for what's going on in the country, and a sense that we need to come together as an American community and speak to American values, that we believe in equality and we believe that people have liberties and those liberties should not be infringed upon even if we are a suspect. So I thought, boy, Biden is giving a very strong speech here. And I must tell you, something else struck me there. I loved hearing him say that America, as we know it, was built by a strong middle class, and again, not by Wall Street, but by people, essential workers who go out and do the jobs every day, and that includes a lot of working class people who want to be treated fairly by the authorities. And, at a moment when, you see people getting upset and depressed, these are anxiety-inducing times, I just think to hear that kind of talk about us as an American community was very important, and it filled a vacuum.
Mm-hmm. Jesse, both candidates are going to define the other, even though we're in the middle of twin crises of a pandemic and now this. So I don't know if Joe Biden was just speaking about unity. He was also drawing a contrast and trying to compare himself to President Trump.
Joe Biden didn't write that speech. I mean, if he did, he plagiarized it. At best, he read it. I thought it was sleepy as sin. I mean, he doesn't stoke fear or division. Okay, you ain't black. They're going to put you back in chains. I mean, come on. This is Joe Biden we're talking about. He's been in Washington his whole life. What has he ever done on this issue? I mean, nothing. Joe Biden hasn't done anything on bringing the country together. This country was torn apart under the Obama-Biden presidency. There were race riots all the time. All he did was point fingers. I mean, now he's siding with a movement that includes rioters, looters, and domestic terrorists. He's siding with Democratic mayors who can't keep their country or their cities safe. I'm not listening to Joe Biden for leadership right now, and no one else is, because no one watched his speech.
Greg, the president is talking about law and order, which is a message quite reminiscent of 2016, where he said, I'll be the president that protects you from internal and external threats. Do you think that will be part of the big message going into the rest of this election?
Yeah, and I think the way that you combat somebody like Biden is when you know someone has no ideas, practical ideas, when you ask them a question, what can we do? And they go, we need to address the long-standing problems of systemic racism. And we go, well, we're doing that right now. We're trying our best, and we think we're making progress, and we have statistics that show that we're making progress over addressing systemic racism in the past. What we're asking you is, what can we do right now when there are mobs destroying our buildings and beating up innocent people and attacking police officers and setting fire to stores and trying to destroy America? What can you do about that? And if they come back and they say, you know, we really need to address the systemic nature of racism or some kind of generic kind of overarching thing that is absolutely useless, you need somebody who has practical solutions, who says, well, you know, if there's looting, you have checkpoints at the tunnels, you have checkpoints at the bridges, and when a car passes and you see there's loot in that car, that person is photographed and publicized so they don't get a job or they lose their job. You search the cars going into the city, out of the city. Practical solution. Practical solutions. Sending in the National Guard to help police the streets, because that works. Those are practical solutions. Not like, you know, I'm going to come here and I'm going to heal the nation. No, you aren't. You could barely pick your socks out in the morning.
It was like I saw this protester in California holding up a sign that said, do something. All right. Okay.